the next incarnation as well. They can do works over there that will prepare them. Let's say they want to be a doctor in the medical fields. There are places that can prepare them to do these sorts of things. To build up their soul innate energy, if you will.
Do you find that more and more people are beginning to get tuned into this?
Oh, very much so. Oh, very, very much. Since we started talking years ago, It's a whole different world, isn't it? It's pretty amazing. I mean, I've had many, many people come up to me who do come up to me and thank me for getting things started, and they used to read my first books, and I used to see them on TV shows, and they want to thank me for making it acceptable, if you will. That's much, much more acceptable, which is what part of my mission was, to bring it to the mainstream. Because we all have experiences, we all have feelings, we have deja vus, we sense things, all this sense things, and now we're learning to listen to those senses.
Do you think your upbringing helped you to have this ability? Yes,
very, very much so. Very, very much so. I look back, and I had an alcoholic parent, and I was put away into a seminary, private seminary, to learn about my religion, and all of those things have helped me. My mother, being an alcoholic, taught me compassion. At the time, it was very, very difficult.
Did you get along with her?
Oh, I loved her. Oh, yeah, we had a great, great relationship. But she wasn't the same when she would drink, you see.
So I noticed that you dedicated this book to your sister.
My sister, Maura, who helped me when we were children. My mother was an alcoholic, and my sister and I would be the ones who would always help each other out, if you will, and get through it. And, she's great.
She watched your backside for you.
Yes, she certainly did. She certainly did. And it helps us. All of our life experiences, from childhood up, do help us. And, this is another thing, George. People who've lost children, you never know when that experience will help somebody else later on who loses children.
That's true.
You never know. You never know what you're going through right now, but it seems very difficult and very hard to go through, how that will have so much benefit later on. It really will. So people just got to realize that.
I don't know what's better for a parent, a child to go quickly or to be prolonged. They're both bad.
They're both bad. They really are. They're both bad. I think in any situation when it comes to a transition, the faster they can go, I feel the better for them. So they don't have to suffer here, physically suffer, and have the parent or friends emotionally and mentally suffer. I think it's quicker would be the better. But I also believe that, again, that soul's, whatever that soul's design is, like there are some souls who have to live forever with Alzheimer's or dementia, and we think, well, why don't we just, we can just euthanize them because we euthanize animals. Well, maybe there's a lesson, a very, very valuable lesson that soul has to learn when they're 90 years old in the middle of this Alzheimer's, and we don't know what that lesson is. Maybe it could be learning to receive from other people, teaching them about compassion and grace. So you never know why someone is going through a certain situation in their life.
Does a child that's in bed in a hospital know that they're dying?
Oh, very much so. Very, very much so. And much more accepting than we are as older adults. They're very aware that there are people in the room coming to get them. Many times it is other children. I used to work at a hospital. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I worked at a hospital. And I was working in the Human Resources Department, and I had to bring a file up to a nurse's station on some floor. And I'll never forget, I used to see a bunch of children, spirit children, go from room to room to room. And they were there trying to help healing and also for transitions for those people that were in those rooms. So very, very interesting. So that was those children's works. But they're very aware that they're going to pass over. Many times they will see their friends and relatives. There are many children who go through chemo and situations and come back and tell their parents, oh, I've been to a wonderful land, a beautiful crystal land of castles and animals. I want to go there, Mommy. I want to go there. And they're very relaxed, and, that's the other side they've been to.
When I was a news director in St. Louis, there was a dear friend of mine who was a reporter who worked for me. And I had been there maybe a couple months. And he came in, he closed the door in my office. And he said that his child was dying of leukemia. And he breaks down in my arms, James. And it was, for me, one of the most wrenching things I've ever been through. Just gut-wrenching. Mm. And I went through that with him. And the child eventually died. Mm. And he went through that. And I know what you're talking about just by looking at what happened to him. That's probably the closest I've ever come to a parent-child death experience. And I got to tell you, it's sad.
It's a sad one. It is a real sad one. It very much is so. I did just, in the book, there's also a story of a little girl named Ellie, and I never know from, as you know, different arenas I go to or different venues, what's going to happen. And this little girl came through, and she talked about Charles, who was who I guess was the man who drove the car that slammed into her grandmother's car.
Oh, jeez.
And she died. And she was speaking about the man who does the engineering, the numbers over his head, and that was her father, who was sitting right there, and her mother. And this little girl was so cute and pouty, and she wore this little dress, and it was like a little prom dress. Here's a 4-year-old little prom dress on. And she said, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm fine. I'm here helping for the next time." We didn't know what that meant. And she said she loved this prom dress. I said, "Oh, yes, she had to go out and get this little dress." We still have a picture of it, and it's actually in the book. I put it in the book because it was so cute. And she said, "Mommy, I'm going to give you a gift in April." And Mother goes, "I don't know what that means." I said, "I don't know what that means, but you showed me a big box with a bow over your head." And in April, the mother found out she was pregnant again.
That's the gift.
So Ellie's gift, yeah.
You have talked and written about a 15-year-old named Gina, who you said was surrounded in negative energy, drugs, violence, gang activity, yet makes it to heaven.
Yeah.
How's that happen?
Yeah. Well, it could be a light in the darkness. This pure soul who put herself in that situation for many reasons. Number one, she could be there to illuminate the darkness, to help people to realize the positivity of the negativity, that they don't have to live this way, and live by example how she lived. And she can come back just for that short period of time to show them what the possibilities are, to illuminate their world, if you will, and make it positive and make an impression. And that could have been the reason why she came down. And she was obviously a very enlightened being, if you will, very evolved being. And most evolved, this is interesting, most evolved beings will come down to a lower level to teach others. It happens quite a bit.
Are there always helpers with them?
Always. We always have angels or helpers. People refer to them as angels, which is fine with me. Angels, guides, teachers, all the time. We never, ever do it alone, ever. I always say, it's like the marionettes, and they pull the strings, and we're just the puppets. But I do believe that we're all in it together. I flew out here on Virgin American Airlines, and they had this whole thing about we're in it together, And I said, "Oh, that's a very nice advertisement.
Yeah.
We're in it together." And we all are in it together, every one of us. And you never know how we're in it together. But I always say, during the day, go out and smile at as many people as you can, and just treat them decently and treat them as you would want to be treated, because we're in it together. We really are. And one of the illusions that we have in this three-dimensional world is that there's a sense of separativeness. And Spirit will often come back and say, if only I knew that when I was alive, I would have treated people differently, I would have looked at life differently, various situations differently. So that's a little secret for everybody listening. Just treat someone as you want to be treated every day, and try to keep everything in check, your emotions, and realize, come on, it's just human.
It's not easy.
Not easy. That's why we're here learning. Learning's never easy.
People in L.A. don't turn their signals on their cars. It's not easy.
Isn't it amazing? I know. That still gets me, too. The signals get me, too. I know. So I pink light that car. I send love to that person in that car. They'll get it one day.
Maybe.
Instead of getting into an accident. And maybe they won't. Right. Maybe they won't.
What is your view of heaven? Was your upbringing, did that teach you what heaven is, or is it different from what some people think?
It's different. It's very different. What I was taught to me when I was a child from a Catholic background, discipline, is very, very different than what I've been taught by Spirit over the 25 years. From my gathering, we have it right, and the religions don't have it right. I think there are vicissitudes and different parts of elements, if you will, aspects of truth that religions have. But I will tell you, I don't think there are 177 virgins. I'm sorry, I don't find that.
I don't think so.
What I do find is a place which is, again, you have to remember, I'm looking at it from a three-dimensional point of view, but was described to me, not only through me, but other mediums through the years, including Leslie Flint, who's a very famous physical medium, and other mediums over the, decades and decades. It's a place where you have unlimited, if you will, vistas, and you have places, residents of living, if you choose to have a place of living, which really characterizes who you are as a soul, the level that you're at. And all the land that is around that residence works in correspondence with that residence. Everything seems to aesthetically belong together in perfect harmony. And there are places of learnings. They have places of, there are no ceilings, it seems. They have symphony halls. They have places of artwork, great pieces of art. It seems that on the other side of life, that's the truth. That's the real place. And the great masters live there, and their works live there. And we on the earth receive them inspirationally, but we're not the holder of those great pieces. It seems that there are all different types of environments over there that you'd wish to go to, tropical environments, to country environments, to just houses, Main Street house type things. It all depends on the evolution of the soul. And then there are other frequencies, other levels of being, if you will, higher levels, where they don't need such physicality types of things, which they talk about worlds and cities of light, cities of various light. And you go to that light, the city of light, depending on your emotional, your spiritual and emotional, physical, mental being, your level of awareness.
Do you ever come across parents who have lost the belief system that anything has happened to their child in terms of moving on to heaven or anything like that?
Yes, I have. I've worked with them, and again, it's not up to me to change their minds. I just present the information, and it is really up to that soul to choose how they're going to receive the information or not receive that information. But the child has gone painstakingly through trying to teach that parent that they are around them, as far as, let's say, moving things around the house, as far as making the radio turn on and off, as far as the cell phone goes on and off, the pager goes on and off with the deceased child's number. And if the parent doesn't pay attention, that's it. And that's what can they do? What can the child do? So I have had that, and I've had them say, God, I don't believe in God. And, there's one story in my book, which is really interesting. Again, in Los Angeles, I was doing an event at the El Rey Theater, and I remember this boy came through, and he spoke about various things, and then he said to his mother, you were going into the closet last week, and you were going to find my gun. And she said, yes, I was. And then he said to me, my mother was going to kill herself.
Oh, jeez.
And I had to say that to the audience.
Jeez.
He said, he's telling me you were going to kill yourself. And she broke down and cried. This is actually on YouTube.
I want to talk a little bit more about that when we come back. James Van Praag, take a little quick break, James. We're at the top of the hour. We'll be back with you in just a moment on Coast to Coast AM.